Okay, so we're about to embark on Unit 7. This is a really quick unit. If you blink, you're going to miss it. The exam is going to be on Wednesday. If you do the math, today is Wednesday. Wednesday minus Wednesday. Take away a weekend. How many classes do you think that would be? That will be working here? 4 practice test, unit exam. Okay? Yep. So, the advantage is if you're here every day, you're not going to forget anything at all. But if you miss one day, you miss a quarter of the unit. So, now today, we're going to be doing a concept that I never stumbled across like first university. And looking back on it, it's such an easy concept. Now, it's dangerous to say that. You never want to say anything is easy when you're a teacher, because then if someone doesn't get it, they're like, I'm such an idiot. He said this was easy. So I don't mind mentioning if something's hard, because then if you don't find it hard, then you feel good. If you do find it hard, then you know you're normal. But I was always told, oh, it's so easy, right? Like it just popped up in like a physics class one day, okay? So what would the absolute value be? And I'm like, hey, what's absolute value? I've never heard of that before. And then my buddy's like, yeah, I think it's like if you have a negative number, it makes it positive. I'm like, okay. So I'm assuming if you have a positive number, it makes it negative. No. Huh? What do you mean then? Like if it's, he would never say the actual statement that would make it clear, right? A definition, now look at this definition. The absolute value of a number will never be negative. What is a way you could probably make that a little less confusing? What's the absolute value of a number will always be positive? Like what? I don't. Even the book is like trying to like dance around it. Like say what you mean. Okay, it means a positive number will be positive, and a negative number will be positive. That's what absolute value is. Now, no one explained it to me. They're like, yeah, if you got a negative number, it's going to make it positive. Okay, what do you do with the positive number? It makes it positive. Huh? What? Like, it's not reversing the signs? No, it's not reversing the signs. Like, why didn't they just say it takes every number in the world and makes it positive? And if I ask, well, what if it already was positive? Okay, well, it doesn't really do anything to it. It just stays the same. Okay, so the moral of the story is, if a number is positive, don't do anything. If a number is negative, what mathematical operation do you do to it to make it positive? Multiply by a negative. Now don't just say drop the negative. That is not a mathematical step, okay? Math is not, yeah, if you ever see it, just drop it. Okay, that's not math. Like, that's not a program you put in a calculator. But what has to be in the calculator? Today, you're going to have to be the calculator. You have to think like the calculator. What am I doing to this number? Okay? You can't just say, a calculator doesn't look at this. Calculator doesn't have a brain, okay? It just has a program. And the program must be, if these two little bars are around it, no matter what. If it's positive, don't do anything. If it's negative, multiply by -1. Okay? Because if you get -8, multiply by negative, that's 8. Okay? That's a program you can put in your calculator. You don't put in the calculator, yeah, if you see a negative, just drop it. Okay? That's not a program. It's got to be something mathematical that we do. Okay? So, the way that I've kind of explained it. Now I know it's just an analogy, but it helps people remember. If you look, see how there's bars around a number, okay? Bars mean absolute value. Okay, and I think, well, what has bars? Well, jails have bars, right? Now, if you have a really bad person or a negative person in jail, when they come out of jail, they're all positive. They're like new. They're ready to be part of society. Okay? Now, if you have someone positive in jail, right? Why did someone positive get put in jail? Yeah, they were framed. Okay, so they're put in, so they're a good person. Okay, they love their family, they love their kids. They're going to come out a good person. Okay? I know we can shoot some holes in this theory, but you know where I'm going with this, right? Okay, so think of the bars like a prison. I was, remember in grade 7, we got a new social teacher in grade 7. So social teacher's kind of like, he's introducing himself. And he states his last job that he used to do was he was a prison guard at a maximum security prison. I mean, we were just like, and then in social studies you have electives, things you want to do. So we did a whole unit on prison culture. I just remember how cool that was. Right? We actually had an ex-prison guard as our social teacher, and he'd tell us the goriest stories and everything. It was awesome, right? Like one time when 10 spoons went out, but only 9 spoons came back, and they never found that other spoon until a little bit later. I'm not going to get into the story, but yeah. So I remember that in grade 7. That was cool. There was 30 of us. We're probably the only kids in all of Canada that did a unit on prison culture by a prison guard. So I thought that was pretty fortunate. And when we did our last service project, there was a fellow there that spoke, first time he'd ever spoke, and he talked about, being on the streets and everything like that. But I talked to him a little bit later, and he was telling me about jail and all the weird things that, yes, you were there. Okay. And it's just interesting because prison culture is it's very different than the rest of society. Now, okay, so remember the bars, jail. Okay, you come out, you're going to be good. Okay, so what would be the absolute value of 3? It's 3. Okay? Now this is a really good example to have right off the start. Because I'm getting rid of anybody now that's going, oh, so you just don't reverse the sign? Nope. It's positive, comes out positive. It's negative, comes out positive. Okay? What is absolute value of negative 3? It's 3. Okay? What about C? What would be the answer to C? Negative 8. I've wrecked everything I've just said. I know I got people are looking at me right now. What? You said everything comes out positive, okay? 8 did come out positive, but there was a negative waiting for him right there. Okay? Made him bad. Okay? He was picking him up. He's at the front gate. He's like, here, you want to ride? And then on that ride, things went bad. Okay? Now, what about D? What would be the answer to D? Negative 8. Okay? Why? Well, this is negative, and what happens to this becomes 8. This negative sign that is outside now gets attached to it. Okay? In your head, what would be the answer to E? 14. 7 plus 7, right? How about F? 4, because this would be absolute value negative 4. How about G? Negative 9. Good. Okay? Is everybody picking up what I'm putting down here? Get this? Yeah? I remember first year university, I was like, it's good to learn some stuff when you're younger, because then you're not, and we had never, this wasn't part of math in high school, because I'm like, they just threw it in a question. If the absolute value of that, and you're like, it's like C in like 4-part question, like absolute value, what's up? So I've never heard that before. And we're just trying to figure it out. Like, I think we were even looking like online what it meant, and we're just like, I think it just reverses the sign, right? So I look back on it now and I'm like, why am I so confused about this? But hey, we all have our things, right? Now, what is the graph of y equals x? Now it wants us to do y equals negative x, but we don't have to. Let's just do y equals x. Now y equals x means y equals x. So that's 0.334455, right? So it will look like this, okay? This is, if you graphed it, that's what y equals x looks like. And of course it goes forever and ever in both directions, right? And you can double check, okay, does y equal x here? Yep, that's 0.33. That's 0.55. 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. I mean, that's when y equals x. Now, if we go to our calculator, and we have y equals x. There it is, just like I said, okay? Now, if we absolute value that graph, which we're going to be doing more of next day, but when you absolute value things, are we going to make all the x's positive? That's a good question. No, we don't actually. We take the x's, right, and then take the absolute value of them, and that equals y. So, I want you to picture, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this bold, and then I'm going to do the absolute value of x. Now, how do you do that? You hit the math button. Everybody hit the math button? Right there, look at my arrow. Math. Now, do you see it there? No. So, you need to go 1 to the right, numbers, and just hit the right button. Do you see it? They're not going to have two little bars. They have the word ABS, absolute, number 1. Is everybody looking at that? Hit enter. So you'll have the absolute value of x. Now the absolute value of x will take all of your y's. So that was the original. That is the new one. The new one is going like this. Da, 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 and then bouncing. See, it's not giving any negative y's. Okay, so right there, look again, y equals x, and y equals absolute value x. Now if I take this one away, let's just look at y equals absolute value x, okay? This may remind you of spring or fall in Canada. Get it? Geese flying. Oh, they always fly in a V, right? Now, we've got to try to actually understand what has happened here, okay? Actually, we don't need to take a screenshot. You can just draw it. So it's going to look, this is going to be what absolute value x looks like. Oops. That's not very good. Okay. Now, what it's done, see how this is -1, -2, -3. This is -1, -2, -3. Do you see those negative x's? When you put that negative x in, it changed the answer to be a positive. So the absolute value of x, do you see how this part of the graph did not change? So when x's are positive, absolute value is not doing a lot of work. The program, your calculator, is not using a lot of battery for that one. It's going, oh, it's positive, just don't do anything. Okay? But for that rest of the graph, the program has to kick in and go, whoa, 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 I got to multiply by negative to make it positive. Okay? That's the program in your calculator. It has to be the program that you're thinking. Okay? So, the similarities between these two would be the blue part, right? The differences would be, well, this one, the red is like this, and the absolute value, it gets kicked up. So where are they the same? When x is positive. Where are they different? When x is negative. So we're going to learn a new type of writing things, and it's a mathematical explanation. Okay? So I need an explanation of what's going on here. And again, what is the most confusing thing about math is it is so compact. It is so efficient. It is a language that wastes no time. And that is the most confusing thing about mathematics for people. So I'm going to show you the most efficient way there is to explain this. The way to explain this is f of x is just x if x is greater than 0. Now this is the same thing as y equals, right? And you almost have to read this backwards. See, if x is greater than 0, then absolute value x is just x. But what if x is less than 0? Once you think of any number less than 0, get it in your head. What do you have to do to it to make it absolute? Multiply it by a negative, okay? So this is what you have to do to every x if x is less than 0. So you got to read the whole thing. So we got to look at this for a while. If the equation is just going to be y equals x if x is greater than 0. Okay? Do you see how they had that commonality? No matter which graph it was, they both gave this. The first graph gave that, the second graph gave that. Maybe I'll even draw them out, right? Because this is what it looked like. So we're saying absolute value and just x alone, they're the same graph of x greater than 0. But what happens if when x is less than 0? Whoa, they start to look different. Okay? So that means I'm going to have to take every negative and multiply it by a negative. So it is absolute. Now, absolute in the English language and positive are interchangeable. Okay? You can say, when somebody says, okay, I saw this person steal that car, the police will say, are you positive? Are you positive? Because we're going to make a big step here. We're going to go to their home. Please tell us, are you positive? And the other thing they could say, are you absolute? What does absolute mean? I am entirely, completely, 100% positive that was the one that stole the car. I watched him get into it. I know him very well. I know his coat. I know the guy who's hanging around with. Yes, I am positive it is him. But absolute and positive mean the same thing. Okay? In fact, some people will say, are you absolutely positive? Which it is redundant. That's like saying a round circle or a dead corpse. They are redundant. Absolutely positive is like saying round circle. Are you absolutely sure? Okay. Like, are you sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. No. Are you absolutely sure? I mean, we're going to go make an arrest here. Are you absolutely sure? Would you testify in court? Would you? I mean, they're gonna throw things at you to make sure you're not waffling. Because if you're waffling, they're like, and you're going, well, it might not have been him. There is a chance. Well, they're like, oh, okay. Okay. It makes things different where they're going to go from there. So this is the money. Okay. You need to remember this. This is the most simple piecewise notation that we can do. We are going to make it a little bit more challenging on the next one. Because the next one is we're going to do absolute value x minus 3. Now, can anybody tell me, using your mathematical knowledge, what we're going to do to this graph? X gets replaced with x minus 3. Come on, somebody's got to know. Come on, a bunch of people in the last class knew. Come on. We did this unit. What happens when x gets replaced with x minus 3? I need specifics. Is it not a reflection? No. That would have been a negative in front of the... What kind of translation? What kind of translation? A horizontal translation 3 units, right? Okay? So, if you're correct, okay, now just, you don't have to, I'm just going to put in absolute value x minus 3. Okay, and I'm going to make that one dark so you guys know the new one. Was that a horizontal translation 3 units left? Right. Okay. So this should be review. Now, is it making sense for those people that didn't remember? Did we ever do this when x gets replaced with x minus 3? Okay, it's a horizontal translation 3 units. Now, look at the graph. Okay, let's get rid of this one. I'm just going to clear this one so we can look at the new graph. Now, when x is, this point here is what? What point is that? 3. When x is greater than 3, what do we have to do to all those numbers? Like 4, 5, 18, 28. What do you have to do to all those numbers greater than 3 to make this graph? Anyone know? Okay, let me do this one then. I'm just going to put x minus 3 in. This is what x minus 3 looks like. Now, we can't see it because it's behind, but that's the graph that it's doing. What happened, what did you have to do to all of the graph when it was greater than 3? Nothing. How about when x minus 3 was less than 3? What did you have to do to it to get all these points? Now, be specific. The calculator doesn't know that. You'd have to multiply it by negative. Okay? So, when, let me just take a screenshot here. Put it here so we know what I'm talking about. Oops. Now, this is x equals 3 right here. So, just looking at this, can everyone come over to here now? X minus 3 is the graph. What do we, if x minus 3, we do nothing to when? When x is greater or equal to 3. Does everyone see that? When do we have to put a negative in front of it to make it all positive? When x is less than 3. Okay? Does that make sense by looking at the picture? Now, there's one, I want to show you mathematically how to come up with this. Now, the first step is, in Piecewise, is to just put the equation x minus 3. So x minus 3, we're not going to do anything to the graph when it is greater or equal to 0. Does that make sense? Now let's do a little math. We'll add 3 when x is greater or equal to 3. This is how I come up with this. I actually do the math on it. Okay? That first one has to be greater or equal to 3. How? I do it mathematically. And it'll match the graph as well. And then the second one, I always put a less than that number. So do you see there's not a less than equals because we're not going to count 0 twice. 0 for us is going to be counted basically as a positive number. Anything less than 0 now becomes a negative sign. Okay? So after you do the math for the first one, just do the opposite for the second one. Not completely opposite, I guess, because you're not going to put less than equals to. So it's always greater or equal to for the first step, then less than for the next one. Okay? Now, let's do a couple. So this we're going to do in piecewise function. Now, again, a study sheet. We're doing piecewise notation today. You will have to know how to do a piecewise notation on the unit exam. Okay? So what steps are you going to do? What are you always going to do first? What are you going to do second? What are you going to do third? How do you think of this? How can you check it? Okay? Are you putting all those things down? Like just like on the test. Did I tell you there would be an example of 2 people shoveling, 2 people doing something? And I said the exact format. Some people did not have that on their study sheet. Like, really? You didn't think there's a specific way to do those? In 2 months from now, you're going to be writing a unit exam. There might be one of those on there. There's a specific way to do that. Same with these. There is a specific way to do these. Are you going to be able to look at your study sheet and be able to do them from that? Okay? Now, this is going to be the format. Do you see 3x plus 2? Okay? So, here's how you want to do them. F of x equals, and then you're going to put, and you're going to go 3x plus 2, and then negative 3x plus 2. Now, when is 3x plus 2 positive? Not all the time. Because I could put a negative 8 in there. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24 plus 2. That's not positive. When x is greater than 0? Okay. If I put in... Yes? Yeah, when x is greater or equal to negative 2/3. Okay? Now, this is how you do what he just said. So, 3x plus 2 is going to be 3x plus 2 when 3x plus 2 is greater or equal to 0. Like, does that make sense? We'll leave it alone when 3x plus 2 is greater than 0. Does that make sense? When are we going to have to multiply a negative to it to make it positive? When 3x plus 2 is less than 0. When the answer of 3x plus 2 is less than 0, this is what we're going to have to do. Okay, so we're going to write, you can write if, or you can just put a comma. So this is like step 1. And you see, start to pick up some commonalities. Okay, you know what? You just write what's in absolute value, and then write that same thing greater or equal to 0. Then, on the second step, put a negative in front of the entire thing, and put when 3x plus 2 is less than 0. Then we're going to do some math on this one, okay, to come up with Brody just came up with. It is when, oh, actually, let's work underneath because I need to do B. When, let's just do some algebra. Okay, you got a minus 2, minus 2. And 3x is greater or equal to negative 2. Then you're going to divide by 3 when x is greater or equal to negative 2/3. Okay, so that's what I do here. Now, this is step 2. This is actually my final answer. When f of x equals, so it'll be 3x plus 2, really when x is greater or equal to negative 2/3. So I get that from here. I do the math on it. Okay, now we're actually going to bring this in. You don't have to, but the book likes to do it. So either way, this would be negative 3x minus 2. When do I have to do that? All you do is take the top, write it again, but put the other sign. You don't have to do any math. There's going to be no tricks. What did I do? I put the other sign, and when it's less than negative 2/3, okay? Now, let me show, and you can just draw it after I'll do a little screenshot and write it underneath, because I want to show the visual people what the heck I'm talking about, okay? So, all I'm going to do is put in the absolute value of 3x plus 2. Okay, and again, just watch. 3x plus 2. Now, if I hit graph, guess what this point is? Negative 2/3. Okay, let's see. I'm going to trace. I'm going to find the 0. Get to the left of the 0. Enter. To the right of the 0. Enter, and then enter again. Is that right? Okay, so here is what I'm talking about. Now this is, just so you know, negative 0.6666 is negative 2/3. So do you see, when x was greater, let's do when x is greater than 2/3, that's this part, right? This is when x is greater or equal to negative 2/3. That's the red part. Leave it alone. That's what it says. Don't do anything when x is greater or equal to negative 2/3. But when x is less than negative 2/3, make sure you multiply it by -1 or negative, or it's going to end up like this. That's not absolute. This is absolute. So every time, and try, what is, do a test. What is an x greater than negative 2/3? Give me an x. A nice one. Come on. 5. What's 3 times 5 plus 2? Is that positive? So don't do anything. Yeah, of course. Give me something less than negative 2/3. Be good to yourself. Don't give it negative 28.75. What would be a good one? Negative 2. Negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. 6 minus 2. It's 4. So it is positive. It works. Okay? If you plug anything that is in this domain in here, it will give you absolute. Okay, let's do B. Okay, I want you to take 2 minutes. See if you can do B from looking at A. See if you've come up with some sort of pattern, steps. Okay, so I'm not interested in the final answer yet. I want to do, so I'm going to ask someone to give me step 1, what it would look like. And even if you do it totally wrong, it's still going to help you teach, because then when you change it, you probably won't do it wrong again. People who make mistakes are less likely to do it than those who haven't made the mistake in the first place. Okay, so for step 1, what should I be writing? Heidi? Okay, you got to write what's in there. Yeah, that's good. So f of x, so 4 minus x when? Okay, and what was the other one? Negative bracket, 4 minus x. No. No, you write this statement. See how I did this statement twice? With just that. Sorry. Okay, so you probably will never do that wrong again. Okay, so don't write the negatives in that one. See, that's saying, hey, when 4 minus x is, when that graph's greater than 0, don't touch it. See, this means don't touch it. See, it's the same. I didn't touch it. But if, it's almost like you have to do these kind of read them backwards. But if this graph is negative or less than 0, because that's what this means, right? Everyone knows that? Less than 0 means negative. You have to put this thing in front to make it all positive. Because what does absolute mean? Positive. Absolute means positive. What's the absolute value? How do you make this thing positive all the time? How do you make it absolute all the time? Okay? Now, for B, you got to do a little math here. You're going to minus 4 to both sides, right? And I'll do this in red so you can kind of see what I'm altering here. And then this would be negative x is greater or equal to negative 4. Then what do? Divide by negative 1. So x would be less than or equal to 4. Did everybody reverse the sign when they divided by a negative? Okay. At least we're being consistent. It really would suck right now. I'm saying, oh yeah, don't do that when we're doing absolute values. Okay? That's what I like about math, actually, is that once you learn it, you do use it all the time. It's not like, no, in this case, don't do that. Okay? Now, we're going to rewrite this. This is 4 minus x when x is less than or equal to 4. Now try it. What's a number less than or equal to 4? 2. 4 minus 2, good, it's positive. You put any number less than 4 in there, less or equal to 4, it will be a positive value. You don't have to mess with the graph. But, and the other one, I just write the complete opposite underneath. I don't do any math. Well, I don't do any calculations. I am doing math. But x is greater than 4. When x is greater than 4, like say 5, what's 4 minus 5? Negative 1. Bad alarms are going off, sirens, right? Flashy things. Well, I've got to take that thing and negatize it, right? And that will actually, oops, now where am I getting negative 4x, 4 plus x? I just brought the negative in here, okay? Now with the last class, I didn't even do that. I just left it with the brackets, which, you know, we could just have either one. You can leave it the same. But usually we always want to get rid of brackets, but, you know, they're the same thing. Everyone should know that. Now, the final thing, I know you want to rush, you want to get on to the next question. It's only homework. You know, if I do it all wrong, who cares? Well, you'll just learn it wrong really well. So I'm going to graph it, okay? So y equals absolute value 4 minus x. Okay, and if I hit graph, okay, now, I'm just going to find my 0 here, okay? My 0 is 2. I want to get to the left of that point. Hit enter. I want to get to the right of that point. See those arrows? It's like, oh, you want me to find the 0 between that 2 points? Yes, please. Enter. Okay. So again, what is going on here? The picture kind of completes the story. See, it's saying when this is the graph, this was the graph of 4 minus x. That's the graph of 4 minus x. The absolute value of it says, well, when x is greater than 4, because here's 4, when x is greater than 4, you don't have to do anything. They were all positive. But when x is less than 4, I have to take that entire, all those y's and multiply by a negative to get them up there. Okay? So again, the red is the do nothing part. The blue, how did I get the blue? I took the graph that was negative y's and multiplied by negative 1. Okay? Now, what kind of study sheet are you going to do that you would not forget this in a month and a half, right, on January 24th? Okay? Now, the biggest test to your study sheet will be the next unit, because we're going to do the whole unit, okay, and then I just looked at my calendar more specifically. Then we come back and we're actually going to write the practice test and then the unit exam. So if you do a study sheet and if you spent 5 minutes a day and just read your study sheet, if you did that 5 minutes a day, okay, not 20, not 10, 5 minutes a day, I guarantee you'll come back after 2 weeks not forgetting a thing. Okay? Now you're saying 5 minutes a day, that sucks. Well, those people that were away are going to spend a lot longer than you trying to get it all back. Okay? A lot longer. And probably they'll miss things even then. Okay? Or maybe just the last week you're going to be looking through it. Maybe the first week you're not going to look at it, but the last week you will. So maybe you'll have to spend like 10 minutes on the first time trying to remember stuff, and then it's going to go faster. Okay? But the whole point is, are you making a study sheet? Like I said, I saw people's study sheets. They had no idea how to do 2 people shoveling snow or 2 people, you know, painting or, you know, two pipes filling. They had no idea. I was just like, are you kidding? Like, I showed you how to do it every time, the setup. You know, one job. And it it blows me away how some people, like, actually they actually take themselves and put themselves in a horrible position. And it's just like weird. It's like writing a bad letter to yourself and then putting it in and then opening it up and reading, going, hey, that's not nice. I'd be looking at that person going, what are you doing? Like, why did you do that? This is weird. Okay? Well, when you had a study sheet yesterday in front of you and you did not have the information on, what a useless piece of paper. And some of you, like the spread on that test, like there was 400 or 500s for every class. Okay? And there's like 3 or 4 people in every class. Well, not in every class. In a couple classes that got below 0. There they were, same class. Like, what's happening here? Okay? And mixing things up and not knowing, what do you do if it has an equal sign? What do you do if it doesn't have an equal sign? I asked that question to some people, they said, I don't know. Okay, well, I guess the test is a good test because it caught you. And remember, you have a Math 30 course coming up. There's a diploma on that one. Right? You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do because it doesn't get any easier. So you've got to put more stuff into place. And are you the type of person that literally has to fail before you're like, okay, whoa, I guess I need to start studying. Okay, you got me. You got to be more mature than that at this point, right? And obviously try to be proactive. Okay, so we're going to do 1 to 11, A, C, E, ... But number 9, do A, B, and C for number 9, okay? Okay, so today you'll probably all get your homework done. Can you please also fill in your homework for the last unit? Because I need to get putting that stuff into the computer. Now, Mark's were loaded up into school zone last week, so I was a little bit early on the draw because I wanted you guys to be able to see them.